My name is Erin Parker. I am the Executive Director of the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative at the University of Arkansas School of Law. The Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative was formed to provide legal research and policy analysis for tribes all across Indian country. Our mission is to empower tribal nations through agricultural economic development, educational opportunities, and to really enhance tribal health and wellness through agriculture. So I came on board IFAI after we had already been around for about 6 to 9 months. I jumped in and we immediately started writing our model tribal food and agriculture code for Indian country pretty soon after I came on board. One of my first responsibilities was helping tribes write food and agriculture laws. So we created the model tribal food and agriculture code project. And that resource exists today. I think over 300 tribes have now accessed the code. So that's a protection for their producers. It helps with economic development in a tribal community, and that's what we're all about at IFAI. To invest fully in helping support Native youth who want to go into agriculture careers to help build that bench, we created the Native Youth in Food and Agriculture Leadership Summit. We started that summit in 2014, and it brings Native youth from all over Indian country, including Alaska and Hawaii, here to the University of Arkansas campus. Every summer, they get to do a deep dive on food and agriculture issues, the things that they are passionate about. Since we've been doing the Youth Summit in 2014, we've had so many students come through, and today they are incredibly successful in their careers. They're doing amazing things. We have some who are owning their own cattle operations or their own farming operations. There are some of the former graduates of the summit who now work at national intertribal agriculture operations like the Intertribal Agriculture Council. There are ag educators among the summit grads, so they've come to our summit and now they are working with other youth to make sure that they're getting the kind of ag education that they need as well. And so we're just really proud of all of the youth who've come through the program. It's a joy to work with them and a privilege to help mentor and support them on their journeys. IFAI got involved in food safety training and educational opportunities for Native producers to make sure that Native producers weren't left behind. We entered into a cooperative agreement with the Food and Drug Administration to provide culturally appropriate training for Native producers on food safety. So that's why we got involved, to make sure that we're still filling that role, being that subject matter experts in the space of food and agriculture, and making sure Native producers aren't left behind and are still able to access markets just like any other producer. The EATS Academy, which stands for Empowering Agriculture Through Tribal Sovereignty, is an ecosystem of materials originally funded by the Walmart Foundation to help tribal producers, either individual producers or tribally owned ag operations, either start or scale up an agriculture business. There are some great examples of successes in this area. For example, while the Osage Nation was standing up their new meat processing facility, some of the folks on our enterprise team worked directly with the Osage Nation to customize some of those resources for them so that they had a solid legal foundation for all of the work they were doing. I went to law school because I grew up below the poverty line, and I knew that I didn't want anybody to grow up thinking that they didn't have food, they didn't have the resources that they needed to survive. So although I'm not Native, like, the work that I do for Indian country is very personal in that regard. And it's been really incredible to see the policy change that leads to better food access for people of all ages. Over the last 10 years, IFAI has not only grown exponentially, but we have impacted the lives of thousands of people across Indian country. It's been really great to work in Indian country in that regard because there is so much of an emphasis on personal relationships. So we do get to see the youth that come through our program grow into these amazing young adults who are leading national efforts. The Native Farm Bill Coalition was formed in 2017, and it was a joint project of the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, and Sioux community, Intertribal Agriculture Council, the National Congress of American Indians, and IFAI as the research partner. The reason the Native Farm Bill Coalition came about was because of, honestly, the investment that tribal nations were making in agriculture and the 80,000 plus Native food producers across Indian country who deserve but weren't necessarily getting access to the kinds of programs that that the U.S. Department of Agriculture offers that make other producers successful. The momentum around food and agriculture investment in Indian country over the past 10 years, working here at IFAI, seeing all of it, it's been incredible. Tribal nations have really looked at agriculture as a significant economic driver in Indian country communities. So investment in food makes a lot of sense from a lot of different perspectives for tribes. So it's just really been incredible to see all of that. Before IFAI existed, there wasn't an entity that was providing the kind of specialized legal knowledge from an educational perspective. We're the only center in the country that sits inside a law school that looks at Indigenous food and agriculture law. That's the kind of strategic service that we can provide one-on-one to tribal nations. So if we didn't exist, all of the resources that we've been able to provide tribal governments over the last 10 years wouldn't exist either. For the next 10 years for IFAI, I think the first word that comes to mind for me is growth. We have so much work that we do to support tribal nations, and they are doing so much work. The more investment tribes do, the more we got to be able to keep up so that we're ready to go and provide the service that we've always provided anytime Indian country needs us. We've got an exciting 10 years ahead of us. There's been so much policy development, not only at the tribal level, but at the federal level. And as a nationally recognized thought leader in Indian country food and agriculture law, I think we'll have a lot more to do in that space as well. Nobody can believe it's been 10 years. 10 years has really flown by. But I know that in addition to that sense of, wow, where did the time go? There's also been an incredible appreciation for the work that we've been able to do. The dedication of our staff, the way that we've been able to grow our staff and create not just two attorneys trying to serve all of Indian country food and agriculture, but to have a tribal enterprise team, a tribal policy team, a legal team, to have communications professionals and a rock solid administrative staff that let us go out into Indian country and do everything we need to do and make sure everything is running back home. If anyone out there wants to support our work or get involved in the work that IFAI does, if you're new to working in Indian country, we have some amazing resources. First of all, we've got a couple of Indian country 101 documents. IFAI is entirely soft-funded, and all of the work that we've done over the last 10 years would not have been possible if an amazing community of funders, federal and private, had not believed in the work that we do and ultimately believed in tribal nations, because we are supporting tribes. That's what we are. We're a service organization. So every time someone supports our work, really they're believing in Indian country. They're supporting Indian country and supporting tribal sovereignty. So we are deeply grateful to everyone over the past 10 years who have supported our work financially, let us grow our team, and let us grow our service to Indian country.